Hey guys, how's your beautiful day going on this beautiful day? Today I am talking about every team that is currently eliminated from playoff contention. I will be doing this every single week for every team that is getting eliminated. Like and subscribe and you can see those videos when they come out. This one is obviously going to be the longest video of all of them because there is a lot of teams to talk about today. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first team we are going to talk about today is the team with the #1 overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are interesting because this Pete Carroll era that they tried out was absolutely atrocious. It just did not work whatsoever. They tried to bring in Geno, and Geno was absolutely horrible. Ashton Jeanty is who they spent their 5th overall pick with, and that was just an absolutely horrible pick because they didn't have the infrastructure to put around Jeanty for him to even be that productive, and he still found a way to be decently productive, and they'll have him for his career now. But at the end of the day, that didn't help them whatsoever. Their offensive line was putrid, and that is the biggest reason why this team really wasn't good, was because of how bad their offensive line was. Again, a reason why they should not have drafted Ashton Jeanty this year, because they just didn't have the infrastructure to draft a running back. You do not draft a running back when you don't have anything else to support him, because there was no point. Why did you have Ashton Jeanty? Your run game was horrible this year, and Jeanty still managed to get, I think, 800 rushing yards this season. The fact that he got to that mark, and I'm pretty sure he got up to 1,000 all-purpose yards, that shows you how good truly Ashton Jeanty really was. What are we doing? In the first round, we haven't done anything really for the infrastructure of this team. Obviously, Brock Bowers is a top-end talent, and Ashton Jeanty is a top-end talent, but if you can't get the ball to either of them, or if you can hand the ball off to Ashton Jeanty, he literally can't go anywhere without getting hit 4 yards behind the line. How do you expect this offense to be good anyway? I mean, it just seems, and they missed on their offensive line picks. They missed on all these other picks. So it's just, as far as the draft goes, they have been absolutely horrible as of recently. And now at the end of the season, you piss off Max Crosby, your best player on your team, arguably a top 3 to 4 defensive talent in the league right now. He's one of the best run-stopping edges in the entire NFL, if not the best. And you now, like I said, you have pissed him off, and he may request a trade. The only thing that you can be happy about is that you did suck as bad as you sucked, because now you get the 1st overall pick. So do you draft a quarterback, or do you trade for picks? I think they'll probably draft a quarterback. It might be Fernando Mendoza. It might be Dante Moore. It could be whatever crazy prospect comes out of the combine that we know every single year. There's a random quarterback who just shoots up the draft boards because he's hella athletic, and that could definitely happen this year, and the Raiders draft him instead of Mendoza or Dante Moore. I don't see any of those happening, but it could. But you just can't miss on your draft this year. This is a huge year. You need to be good in the draft. The good thing for them as well is that they're second in cap room. They can overpay for offensive linemen. They absolutely need to. Money is not something you should be thinking about when you're going into free agency this year, especially when it comes to those offensive lines, because you absolutely need them for this offense to work at all, especially if you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback with a great rookie running back this year. He's going to be in his sophomore year. Brock Bowers is going to be working well. So just absolutely overpay for linemen. Just throw money at them, and maybe you can have a really good offense next year. The defense may not be as good. Hopefully you can draft well defensively, but if you can at least get one side of the ball moving, you'll be taking steps in the right direction. And you need to hire a good coach. I don't know who they're looking at. I don't know who they want to be their coach going forward, because obviously they fired Pete Carroll, so we'll see which direction they go then. I think the Raiders are in a relatively okay position considering how disastrous this season went. And if you can keep Max Crosby and you can keep him happy, then you'll be in a great position next year. The next team is going to be the Chiefs. This is really a year that they need to figure out their offensive skill positions. They really need to do some roster building. It is really, really bad over there. Without Patrick Mahomes in the lineup, they have lost to the Raiders and the Titans. They have been the worst roster in the league. And that just shows how much Patrick Mahomes was lifting this team. Before he went out, they had 6 wins. I think they were 6-9 or 6-8 or maybe even 6-7. They were almost a middle of the pack team with Patrick Mahomes in this lineup. The terrible thing for them right now is they're dead last in cap space. So free agency isn't going to be very fun for you because you're not going to really build through there. You have to draft well. They need to go pay a running back. They absolutely need it. It is inexcusable that they cannot run the ball. It has been how many years into Patrick Mahomes' career, and since Kareem Hunt, he really hasn't had a steady rusher in his backfield. You still have the best quarterback in football. You absolutely cannot put him on the field with this same roster next year. You absolutely cannot. And I understand it's going to be hard because of cap space, and you're going to have to draft really well. You have to make trades. Travis Kelce is probably not going to be on the squad next year. The Chiefs are in a dangerous position, especially with where Patrick Mahomes is in his career and the fact that he just tore his ACL. So maybe his athleticism may not be the same when he comes back, but I mean, it probably will, but still, these are questions that you ask. The Chiefs have a lot to deal with this offseason. Next up is the Jets. In my personal opinion, I think the Jets got blessed with finding a way to that second overall pick. The Giants winning that game really helped the Jets because I don't think that they're going to have to trade up. Either way, they're going to get Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza. More likely, they're going to get Dante Moore, which is a prospect I like way more than Fernando Mendoza. But even if they do end up with Mendoza, he's still a Heisman winning quarterback, and that's really good. They're also 4th in the league in cap space, and it looks like they're probably going to keep Aaron Glenn. You have to let Breece Hall go. I don't think he would resign in the first place. I don't know why he would resign with the Jets after how his tenure has gone so far. I sure as hell would not have re-signed at all. You have to hope you hit a home run with whatever quarterback you get in the first round, because at the end of the day, that's what they need. That's what you need to start your organization with. If you look at the Titans, who we're going to talk about later, they don't have to worry about quarterback now, which is the biggest blessing in the world for them, because they can figure out whatever the hell they need to do to make this team good. Now they need to focus on coach and other things. Quarterback is all done. That is the biggest stressor for any NFL team, is finding the franchise quarterback. So it all depends on this draft pick. I think there is a couple guys in this draft that could be the guy. I think Dante Moore especially can be the guy. If that's who they get, they need to make sure that they also build around the infrastructure of this team, because it's not that good. They need to make sure that they hit a slam dunk with their coaching hire. They absolutely have to, if they don't keep Aaron Glenn. If they keep Aaron Glenn, then whoever they sign as their offensive coordinator also needs to be a home, because obviously Aaron Glenn is not going to be the guy that's going to develop a quarterback, which is why I don't think that they should keep Aaron Glenn. But it seems to them that they're going to move on with it, or move with him. So their offensive coordinator needs to be a slam dunk. And overall, their defense was absolutely horrible this year when it was supposed to be their best part, but they also traded Sauce Gardner and they traded Quinnen Williams. So you just have to draft well. They were clearly tanking by the end of this year with Brady Cook in the lineup. So you got the draft pick. Now draft well. They're 4th in cap space right now, so they really have an opportunity to build out the rest of this team and create a decent structure for whichever quarterback comes into the system. But at the end of the day, it is also the Jets. They might not do any of this, and they might completely frick it up. And I would not be surprised whatsoever. Next up is the Dolphins. Unfortunately, they're in a hell of a no man's land because of how they paid Tua. You can't really get rid of Mike McDaniel if you're gonna have Tua. That's just a fact. If you're gonna have if you're gonna have Tua, and you kind of have to have Tua, because that's a lot of dead cap to eat. And if you are gonna do it, then yeah, you can also fire Mike McDaniel. But if you're not getting rid of Tua because of the massive contract that you messed up and gave him, you have to keep Mike McDaniel too, because this is the system. You can't try and switch the system up on Tua now, because he was already so limited as a passer. And maybe you think you have something with Quinn Ewers, and that would be another reason to fire Mike McDaniel. But at the end of the day, I think this team is going to end up having to run back the exact same regime, which is just horrible. They are just, like I said, they're in a no man's land. They're also 28th in the cap right now. They just don't have anything they can really do at this moment. I don't think that they can come back next year and have a different squad and be a better team. You might just have to run it back with a very similar squad. The Browns, I don't think, are in the worst spot ever because they have a really good defense right now. I think that's something that they can hang their hat on right now, is their defense is one of the best in the league. They just need to fix this offense. I definitely think you try and bring in some QB competition for Shedeur Sanders, although I think that Shedeur Sanders is a guy that you go with next season and see what you can get out of him and see how he handles this offseason. And if he can come back better, then obviously he could be the guy. But there needs to be talent on this offense as well. When are you getting Quinshon Judkins back? Because that was a really tough injury he had to go through. He's probably not going to be back by the start of the NFL season. You're not going to keep David Njoku, obviously, but it's okay because Harold Fannin is a stud. You need wide receiver talent and you need offensive line talent. Figure out this offense because this defense is a playoff caliber defense. Myles Garrett is a Super Bowl caliber player and he deserves to play meaningful games in his career, and you have a path to get there. But they need to draft well. And they're 26th in the cap, so they don't have a lot to work with. They have to hit a home run with the coach as well. I think it needs to be an offensive-minded guy to work with Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, their defense is fine. Jim Schwartz is good coaching that group of guys. They're going to be good. You need to figure out the offense, and that's why I think you should get an offensive-minded head coach, whoever that may be. I don't know who's on the market for them right now. I think this Browns team is a lot closer than people think they are. Unfortunately, it is the Browns organization. So the Bengals just really need to use the money that they have. They've been so stingy with money for so long, and honestly, there's nothing I can say that they can do if they don't use the money. They're 7th in the salary cap, and their defense is horrible. You have an offense. You have probably the best offense in the league when Joe Burrow is healthy because you have 2 really, really good wide receivers that you've already paid. Your tight ends are actually pretty good. Noah Fant, who actually might not even be there next year, but Mike Gesicki. You just need some offensive line. You can overpay for the offensive line if you really, really want to, but at this point, I think the Bengals need to just full invest on this defense. Even with the offensive line being horrible, this is still a top 5 offense in the league. Put some money into the offensive line, of course, because you need to, because it's been a bad unit for a really long time. And maybe you want to draft there. But the main focus needs to be the defense. That's what it needed to be last year, and you almost lost Trey Hendrickson, your best defensive player. So you need to focus on it this year. Will they do that? I have no idea. It's the Bengals organization. They don't seem to be able to do that. The Ravens fired John Harbaugh today. I think that that was a good culture change for them. I think that that's something that they need, but they need a play caller at coach, and I think it needs to be a defensive-minded guy because I think this defense has some talent. They really need a pass rush. That's number 1 on the docket. You absolutely either overpay or you get somebody in the draft, but pass rush needs to be on the top of your docket. But I think you also need a defensive-minded head coach that can handle the talent on this defense because before Zachary Orr got here, and when you had Mike McDonald calling this defense, it was a good unit. So you just need to find the guy that can make this a good unit again because I believe that they have the talent as long as Matabike can come back, as long as they can get a pass rush whatsoever. I think this defense will be okay. The offense will be fine. You have Lamar Jackson. At the end of the day, you need to get some offensive talent for him as well. You need some wide receivers. Zay Flowers is just not it. You're going to need a real wide receiver 1, and I think you can draft, you can pay, whatever you need to do, and you also need to find a successor to Derrick Henry because I don't think Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill are the answer, and he's getting older, and he was definitely worse this year than he ever has been. He's had a fumbling problem. He still was great in terms of like finishing and yards and things like that, but he's definitely regressing. He's an older running back, so you're going to need to find somebody to success him. I think the offensive line needs a lot of help. Overall, this team isn't that great, but I think it has the talent to be fine. They were just miscoached last year. This new regime can really change what the Ravens are and can put them back into contention as soon as next playoffs. The Titans right now, I think, are in an absolutely amazing position. Do they have a horrible infrastructure around them right now? Yes, but they have a head coach vacancy. They're 1st in salary cap. They have the 4th overall pick. They have a lot to work with this season to absolutely revolutionize this roster. Like I said earlier, you don't have to pay Cam Ward. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal. This is the dream scenario for any organization. The best thing that came out for the Titans this year is finding out that Cam Ward is probably the guy. He had so many good plays this year. Obviously, there's things he needs to work on, but overall, I think he is definitely the guy over there, and they don't have to worry about that anymore. Obviously, this roster is atrocious, but like I said earlier, they're first in salary cap. They can go get all the talent that they need for Cam Ward. The problem is going to be, are players going to even want to go to Tennessee? So that is definitely an issue that they have to worry about. But they're high in the draft, and there is a lot of offensive talent in this draft. The world is their oyster. They can overpay for offensive linemen in free agency if they want, and then in the draft, they can draft offensive talent. I think the first thing that they need to focus on is just getting one side of the ball good. If they can get the offense good, this is kind of the same thing that I said with the Raiders. As long as they can get one side of the ball good, then they can focus on the next side of the ball in a later season. But right now, I think it's time to focus on Cam Ward's development and the offense's development. The defense can be fine. They have Jeffrey Simmons. They can focus on that a later season. Just get as much offensive talent as you can possibly put on this offense. And that goes with also having an offensive-minded head coach as well. Whoever you can find that can, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I think, would be absolutely perfect for this. This is the best landing spot for Kevin. But maybe he signs somewhere else. We will see. Next up is the Colts. The Colts have so many question marks this season. This was just a horrible, horrible collapse to end the season, and it leaves them in a really, really rough position for the rest of the year. What is the plan for your quarterback next year? Because Daniel Jones is going into free agency. He's coming off an Achilles tear. Do you really want to pay him that money when before his Achilles tear, he was regressing as far as his play goes? Like, what do you do at this point? Is Anthony Richardson, like, his career over? Like, is he going to be able to actually play next year if you think that he is the answer? And do you pay Alec Pierce or do you let him go? Because he's a free agent this year and he was amazing. He was amazing. He was their best wide receiver and he looks like a star in the making. So is that somebody that you think you should invest in? Do you trust the defensive talent that you have right now? Because it's looked horrible in the last weeks of this season. This defense has looked atrocious. Awful way to end the season. And do you keep Lou Anarumo? Is he even the guy that you want to keep as your defensive coordinator right now? I think you're good with Shane Steichen, of course. I think he's a fantastic head coach. You just have so many questions with this team going into next season. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think that Daniel Jones is really the answer for this team if they really want to compete. And if you do re-sign Daniel Jones, that means that they're trusting that they're going to be as good as they were the first 8 weeks of the season. And based on how it looked after that 8 weeks, those couple weeks before he got injured, I don't know if that's something you want to trust. The Giants right now, in my opinion, are in the best position of all of the teams that are eliminated, and I think that they can do something similar to what the Patriots did this year. Jackson Dart, although I'm not going to call him a star in the making, he kind of looks like one. He has elite pocket maneuvering. I think he's just fantastic in the pocket. He's a great athlete, and I think he has a rocket arm. I think they have a quarterback. I really do believe that Jackson Dart can be the guy there. Will he be? That's still out. We don't know. But there is so much offensive talent that has been injured. Obviously, you have Malik Neighbors. Andrew Thomas missed time. Cam Scatabo got injured early in the season. When all of these guys are healthy, this team actually looked fine. Theo Johnson also was a big target. Wan'Dale Robinson showed a lot at the end of this season. Wan'Dale is a free agent next year. Is that someone you bring back? I think that would be a good idea to bring Wan'Dale back because really, I think this offense can be really good next year. You need to invest a little bit on your defense, especially in that linebacking core because their run defense was awful this season. They have a great defensive line. They have Dexter Lawrence. They have Brian Burns, who was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation for parts of this year. Kayvon Thibodeau has been really decent, but you also have Abdul Carter, who was good this season. You really have a decent defensive infrastructure right now, and you have great offensive infrastructure. You need to probably get an offensive-minded head coach, but you really need a culture changer. You really need a culture guy who's going to come into your organization and set things straight because you have a really young team that needs that. And you need to draft defensively well in the back end of your defense, obviously, because they have some problems at corner. They have some problems at safety. They have some problems at linebacker. The only thing that they don't need to focus on is their defensive line, which is the best. They don't have to worry about quarterback. As far as offensive talent goes, I don't think they really need to worry about that. And I don't think their offensive line is horrible. You don't have to worry about wide receiver, and you don't have to worry about defensive line. You're kind of just filling in this group and making sure you get the right coach with them. The Giants could be scary next year. Next up is the Commanders. They have to get healthy. They have to get younger. And honestly, they have to get everything besides quarterback. Obviously, they have their quarterback. He's a top 10 talent. I mean, he's a top 5 talent maybe. He's really, really good. You don't really have to worry about the quarterback. That is the best part of what's going on for them. He was just injured. You just have to hope that he doesn't have a lasting injury problem in his career. Overall, I think you'll be fine. You just have to fix the infrastructure. I don't think this team is nearly as good as we thought they were going to be. The infrastructure and the weapons on this team were not even nearly as good as we thought they were going to be. The running back core is bad. Chris Rodriguez is their best running back, who I think he really had a decent season, but besides that, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I don't know. He ripped off a good run a couple weeks ago, but I just don't think that it's a very talented backfield. Their offensive line is okay. I don't think it's the worst group in the league. Their tight ends, you're definitely not going to have Zach Ertz anymore. He's probably retiring. I don't know, but you don't have any reliable tight ends. Your best wide receiver is going to be 33 next year, and your second best wide receiver is Deebo Samuel, who is just not like the guy that he was in 2021. They just have a lot of infrastructure problems. They're such an old team. They have major defensive deficiencies where they just can't really guard anything because they just are the slowest team on planet Earth. They absolutely have to draft speed. They need speed everywhere. Just draft the fastest guys in the damn draft if you absolutely have to. But this team is so lacking of speed, and it just shows every week. And they fired Cliff Kingsbury, which I don't really like. I think that his offensive system with Jaden Daniels was working well, and I don't think that he was the problem whatsoever. I don't know why they fired him, but they also fired their defensive coordinator, which was, I mean, that should have happened. But firing Cliff, I don't think that was the best idea. Hopefully you can get a guy in there that works really well with this offense. The Dallas Cowboys right now are in an interesting position because do they pay George Pickens? They could franchise tag him as well. They're 29th in cap right now, and I don't know. I don't think that they should sign George Pickens if it's not a franchise tag. But I do not believe that they should sign him to a lengthy contract because of the state of their defense right now. But at the end of the day, it's Jerry Jones, and I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what his decision is going to be when it comes to George Pickens and when it comes to their defensive talent, because their defensive line looked fine when Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams were in there. Everything else is horrible. Their corners are not good, and they're way overpaid. Their safeties are not good. Their linebackers are really, really small and just flat out not very good. And their defensive ends, they can't get solid pressure. Everything is bad on the defense except for the defensive tackle, and they really need to fix that. And that's what they need to hone in on. But they don't have a lot of money, so they have to draft well. We'll really see what this team does, but they're kind of in a land where they kind of just have to run back the same team next year. This team won't look that much different. Next up is the Cardinals. Their main thing right now is, what is the plan with Kyler Murray? What are you going to do with him? Because I can kind of see that they're not going to put their faith in him. And do you trade him? Is that what you do? And do you think you can get the package back that, like, his value isn't as good as it used to be? It's definitely not as high as you paid him. Value that you're going to get back is not going to be very good. But at the end of the day, I think that you have to. You fired Jonathan Gannon. This has to be a full rebuild time for the Cardinals. They're not good at any facet of the game, and keeping Kyler Murray is just kicking the rock down the road. There is no point in trying to make this team a playoff team in the current infrastructure that it is, because it's just not going to work. It has to be the end of this era for the Cardinals, because they can't keep running back this team. It's just obviously not the squad that's going to get it done. Next up is the Saints, which I think they're actually in a really decent position right now, considering how well Tyler Shuck has played. He showed a lot of promising factors, and he's definitely shown that he could maybe be a guy that you put your faith in as a franchise quarterback. Am I going to say that he is a franchise quarterback right now? Absolutely not. He still has a lot of things to work on, but he's shown way better football play than I ever expected him to play. He's definitely given himself a shot at being a franchise quarterback. At the end of the day, as I've said for so many teams today, which is just kind of obvious for every single team now that I'm thinking about it, but they absolutely just need to draft well. They are destroyed in the cap right now. They're 30th, and they've been at the bottom of the cap for just such a long time. But I think that they're okay. I mean, in the last 8 weeks of the season, the Saints looked like the best NFC South team, and I think that they can really carry that into this season with maybe a signing in the offseason. And again, if they are able to draft well, if they're able to get some offensive talent, maybe a running back, because you can't just keep throwing Alvin Kamara out there or any of the other running backs. You kind of got to get a real guy in there because Alvin Kamara is not a real franchise running back anymore. But the defense also, it looks decent. I think it is brighter over there in New Orleans than it really looks because of their capital and everything. This team looks like they could possibly be the best team in the South next year if they just play as well as they did at the end of this season. The Falcons need to bring in some competition for Michael Penix. I do still think that they need to really see what they have with him, because I don't think that he's played enough for you to officially say that he's not the guy. With now this ACL injury, and he's already such an old prospect, and he's already not the most athletic prospect, how effective is he gonna be? I think it's time to really start to see what else you have. I think that was just a horrible pick. You might have to just cut your losses with Kirk Cousins because he's really killing you right now. You're gonna have to eat that dead cap and just move on. You know, you're gonna have to get rid of it anyway, especially if you're firing all of your coaches and things like that. It just feels like this regime is over. But overall, I think that the defense is really, really good, and the defensive talent is really good, and the offensive talent is really good. I do think this team is a quarterback away. If they get a quarterback, this team could be really good, and a really good coach. They need it. They need a coach that can lead this ship the right way, as well as their quarterback. That's all that they need at this point. QB and coach, the two biggies that every team is always looking for. That's all they need. If they can hit a home run on that, this team can be a contender. The Bucs are in a weird spot right now because they believe that Baker is the guy, and they might believe that Bowles is the guy. They have not fired him yet. I'm not going to say that they absolutely aren't going to fire him. I think he needs to be fired absolutely this season. I do also think that they like Todd Bowles. They might keep him again. If they keep Todd Bowles and they keep Baker Mayfield, it's holding them back. Those guys, unfortunately, are not the guy to lead your team to a championship or to further contention. They have been a first-round team with Baker Mayfield. They need to be more. And now this year, they're not even a first-round team, and a lot of that has to do with some injuries. But Baker just wasn't good at the end of the season. He's also getting older as a quarterback. How much better is he really going to be? And is he even going to be better than he is now with how good he currently is? I just don't think that's enough for them to be content with him, because you have so much talent on this offense. You have 3 starting running backs. You have so many wide receivers, and Mike Evans is getting older and Chris Godwin is getting older, but Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka both look really good. Cade Otton is a good option for an offense. You have Tristan Wirfs, who is arguably the best tackle in football. You have plenty on this offense. Baker Mayfield is holding them back, and until they realize that, I don't know how far this team can really go. The Vikings are the biggest poster child for they're a quarterback away. JJ is absolutely not the guy, and maybe I get proved wrong one day. JJ McCarthy, in my eyes, is absolutely unequivocally not the quarterback. He's just not the guy that's going to lead this team to be contenders again. They have Brian Flores right now. We'll see if he actually stays on the team or signs a head coaching contract. But if he does, this defense is still really good. The offensive infrastructure is not bad. They probably do need a running back because they have Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. Jordan Mason is good, but maybe they want another guy back there because I don't know about Aaron Jones anymore. Their wide receiver talent and their tight end talent is really good as well. They need a quarterback that can get those guys the ball because they have the worst quarterback room in football right now. Draft a quarterback, sign a quarterback, trade for a quarterback. Maybe you go and get Kyler Murray. I think that this would be a really good spot for him. Pairing him alongside Kevin O'Connell could really revolutionize this offense, but they need to figure out their quarterback because that's really all they need right now, as long as Brian Flores stays. And last but not least, I am going to talk about the Lions. And all I have to talk about with the Lions is I'll actually show you my note. See what that says? I don't know if you can see what that says. That says Jared Goff and a period. You see how much I wrote for every other team? You want to see how much I wrote for every other team? Every other team has a full section I wrote Jared Goff for the Lions, and I don't think I have to explain why. He's not the guy, and if they're going to continue to put their faith in them, and him specifically, there is a clear ceiling to this team. Clear ceiling. They didn't even make the playoffs this year, and I think a lot of the reason was Jared Goff. Another lot of the reason, which is not a sentence, but whatever, is the offensive line is definitely not as good as it used to be. You shouldn't have to rely on having a top 3 offensive line for your quarterback to be good enough, especially with how amazing the talent on this team is. The talent is through the freaking roof. There is no excuse for this team not making the playoffs. And I strongly believe it has to do with Jared Goff. Statistically, you'll go look at his statistics and tell me, hey, he's been playing well. He's the guy. But consistently, in moments where it matters, Jared Goff shows he's not the guy. Every single time. The crazy thing is you have all these people that believe a certain thing about Sam Darnold because of how he doesn't perform in big moments, and they should definitely have that concern about Sam Darnold. But I don't understand why Jared Goff doesn't have that same tag on. And they're not going to really win anything with him there. I don't know. I know that they're going to run it back with him next year. And I know that at the end of the year, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. The Lions will not be Super Bowl champions next year because of Jared Goff. And that'll just about do it. That was a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because I did. If you did, please leave it a like and subscribe to the channel. I will be back next week with the new teams that get eliminated. Have a nice day. I will see you guys in the next one.